So Gerard came to me to get advice and help as to how he might better stand and communicate and deliver his message. And at the same time, I'm hearing this whole branding business coming from Gerard. So I decided, would it be interesting for me to give you the advice that I can give, and for you to give me the advice that I can, for me to give you the advice that I can give, and the other way around. So we got talking, and the thing that kind of emerged very clearly, and it's something that is kind of free to take away, is that so much of what we're doing, we're in the storytelling business. You know, whatever we're trying to do, it is in the context of a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So I kind of found that in terms of my communication skills and Gerard's branding skills, the kind of common denominator for what we were talking about really was stories, and how best to use a story to tell the tale that you might have to tell.
And it wasn't just the stories, of course. What I was picking up from Patrick, and I suppose from my own observations of theatre in particular, but all the storytelling, whether it's in films or soap operas or whatever it might be, or even advertising, is that people are being moved. That theatre seems to be all around kind of a physical movement, is about people being moved from one place to another. Or you talk about an audience being moved to tears, for example. We've heard that. Or that somebody has their thinking shifted, that if somebody's going to buy something or buy into what you're doing, that there's some kind of shift happens, doesn't there? That you move somebody from one place to another. Or there's even sometimes a physical reaction to something where somebody suggests, proposes an idea, and you recoil at the idea. So it seems that our language, when we talk about buying and selling and presenting and persuading people, is all around movement. So I was fascinated to explore that idea of movement, because it wasn't just physical movement, there was also emotional movement, and there was also that sense of being moved psychologically or intellectually in some way, and that we might explore what that actually means.
So we kind of figured that maybe what Gerard had to say about the world and what I had to say about how you say it might be worthwhile to come together and see if there was something we could put together and share with an audience, which is yourselves. We haven't done this before, you know. So this is our first outing with our thoughts. We've come together with our thoughts, and we really wanted to present them and share them with you this evening. The business of moving, the business of actually trying to get whoever you're trying to communicate with to be moved enough to want to buy or to listen or whatever it might be, is absolutely critical to this. And Gerard started talking to me about the Archimedes principle. You know Archimedes.
That's right, and I know a number of you will be familiar. You've heard me talking about Archimedes. For those of you who haven't heard me talk about him, but you'll know him from your school days, from his Eureka moment, don't we all know the Eureka moment? He jumped out of the bath because he discovered the law of relativity. And it wasn't relativity, what was it? Displacement, you see? You could see? You're listening, okay. So, of displacement. But he had much more than that Eureka moment. What we know about Archimedes is that he was the father of modern engineering and ancient engineering, and all of the great achievements in building and construction can be laid back to his door for the principles of leverage, pulleys, the use of weights and counterweights, all of that thing, of systems, of irrigation. All of these things can be traced back. Whether he actually devised them or not is another thing, but he's associated in the ancient world. And he was so closely associated with it, whenever there was a big building project to be taken on, and the king or the local leader would ask for Archimedes, and he would be ferried into that particular building site. And we're talking about some of the greatest feats of architecture. We're talking about not just a local, a small temple. We're talking about very often, even now when they've been semi-destroyed, the most extraordinary buildings. Many of you will have seen them, I'm sure, yeah? These extraordinary buildings, and it's almost impossible to conceive that a single man or even a group of men, puny men working together, could raise a block, maybe half the size or even the size of this room. Think of it in stone above itself, and again and again and again. When you think about the heights that they went to thousands of years ago, and it was thanks in large part to Archimedes.
Yeah, the expression, show me where to stand and I'll move the world, is really very pertinent to the situation that all of us, whether I'm running an acting school or building a theatre or a communications company or a branding company, the requirement, the imperative, because things are just so shockingly different to how they were 6 months ago or a year ago. The requirement really to spend a little time focusing on where exactly you need to be to get to where you need to to be is really what we're talking about today. And there's three parts to this that we want to share with you. There's the first part, which I suppose, for want of a better viewpoint, is coming from my world, which is, you know, the theatre business of how do you stand? Like, how do you stand and deliver? You know, now more than ever, we need to figure out how do we pay attention to our posture, our gesture, our voice, and the way we impart information and communicate it with an audience. Of course, it was important before, but I guarantee you it's more important now that we actually take time to figure out what I stand for. Like how do I stand? How do I stand? Before we look at the issue of values.
Yeah, and the issue of values, is, as Patrick said, is what we stand for. That it's what we actually bring to the equation. What are we bringing to the party? What are we bringing to our customer? What are we bringing to the transaction? What is it? What are the qualities we have? What are the characteristics? And how does that add to our persuasiveness, our ability to move to move an audience, to move a customer to buy from us?
So if the first thing is how do I stand? And the second thing is what do I stand for? Then the third thing that we're dealing with is what do the audience stand for? What's going on in the minds of the people that you're dealing with, communicating with, talking with, trying to sell to? So the first is how do I stand? The second thing is what do I stand for? Issues to do with values, and we'll come to those in a minute. And the third one is what do the audience require? What do they need? Where are they at? Because they're in a different place now than they were 12 months ago, because obviously the world has shifted in the way that it has. And nothing is the same. You know, the one thing that has changed is that everything has changed. And all of us in this room are suddenly looking at the world in a different way. And some of us, you know, I'm running an acting school and I'm trying to get people to come in and do part-time courses in that acting school to keep the business afloat. And I'm having to come at this in an entirely different way than before, where they just came. And now they're not just coming. I've got to come at it in a different way. And part of the discussions that I've been having with Gerard are about how do I rebrand that school or that theatre. So if the first thing is about how do I stand, and the second thing is what do I stand for, and the third thing is about your audience and where do they stand, we're kind of the view that if you put those three things together in a very straightforward way, at least you're taking control of where you stand, and then you're in a position to get to where you maybe need to get to. If I was to ask you to sell a box of like something small, like a box of a sweet. What's the best sweet you can buy? It's made by who? Butler's. It's a Butler's chocolate, and it's in this silver Butler's chocolate box. And you're going to just sell it to these guys. Yeah.
Huh? We never did mine. We never did mine.
You were out that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go.
Okay.
Just sell it.
So.
Sell it. Just sell it.
Okay. So. Okay. Who would like to buy this box? Butler's box, anybody? Chocolates box. Anybody want to buy it? Anybody? You sir, if you want to buy this box, would you like the box? Box of chocolates? No?
Okay, there's a fairly muted response to the selling of that, Gerard, if I might say so. I'm kind of, no criticism. Well, yeah. I'm in the game. I mean, you know, in the theatre, you know, ultimately, it's about the curtain opening, and it's about being able to take a place. It's about take ownership of your place, whether this is a boardroom or an office or a stage or whatever. It's about being able to stand in front of a group of people, plant your feet in or plant your backside into a chair, but certainly take time to figure out how you're going to do this, as opposed to the kind of wild flying around the place, hoping that anything will go business. So